expecting, we all need new environments. We all need new change of scenery. We all need to better ourselves. There's always greener pastures. And you know what, Scotty? The Big Ten and the Big 12 have embraced this sense of changing of scenery and trying to put your right foot forward. Well, you got some movement in college football that have shaken all the conferences, that have put us on a collision course, or currently on the course for super conferences, which is crazy because, I mean, we kind of saw this coming. We didn't know it would come this fast. Now, thank you, Hauser. 1 year olds.
Let's go.
Bring on football. 31 days, 21 hours, 37 minutes, and 47 seconds.
31 days, Chris. That's a month.
That's a month.
It's a month.
Let's go.
From real football. We had some football this week.
It wasn't professional, though.
It was, they do get paid technically, but... Again,
I get paid to write.
Fair point, Rack. You said it best. Yeah, I can't argue that.
We had some conference realignment, and after the domino of Colorado, which we talked about on the show previously, we heard some rumblings, and sure enough, within the last week, we had Arizona, ASU, Utah jump ship onto the Big 12, and the Big 10 inherit Washington, Oregon, two of the biggest powers in the Pac-12 shifting over, which is, I mean, it leaves the Pac-12 absolutely in a place where they are, I mean, the Pac-12's done at this point.
I mean, you probably reach into the Mountain West and maybe a team or two here or whatever and try and get it up to like 10 teams. Maybe my Rammies have a shot, Chris. Colorado State in the Pac-12. Well, we saw that coming. But yeah. None of this surprises me, Chris. But like, I don't love it. I like the idea of rivalries, and like, this is to me kind of turning into minor leagues for the NFL, Chris, where there's not the local rivalries. There's not like the, year to year, the regional history with all these teams that are close by. Now you just travel to wherever and it doesn't matter. And like, oh yeah, UCLA is a big rival of Penn State. Like, for years they've hated each other. I don't know. I just, listen, it'll be fine. And college football is still going to be entertaining to watch, and people are going to watch it. It just makes me sad. Again, going almost back to what we were talking about, it just makes me sad that everything has to come down to money, because that's what this is, obviously. Well, none of it is about anything outside of money. We've
come a long way from college athletes, student athletes, because now you have NIL deals that are getting players paid. You have these super conferences, which, again, it's almost as if, you're getting paid, you're playing football, it's semi-professional in that aspect of it. And, you're starting to get into that realm of minor league sports. Anything is possible. If Tennessee can finally beat Alabama, anything is possible. Well, maybe. But today's monster Big Ten matchup, USC takes on Rutgers. Must-see TV. There you go. Also, he's had some other comments. Pack it up, says Cornhusker. Yeah, it's going to be the Pac-Whack 8.
Pac-Whack.
If they call it the Pac-Whack, I will fully support every one of those games.
We will be Pac-Whack champion. Like, we should turn our show into a Pac-Whack show.
Just exclusively Pac-Whack.
All Pac-Whack. I mean,
they'll be playing on like Wednesday nights because they're the Pac-Whack.
We'll do exclusive coverage of all the games.
They now that opens up on ESPN that like midnight Eastern time game on Saturday night, Chris, for the Pac-Whack.
Right. That's right. We could capitalize on this. We will be the ActionLab Sports Pac-Whack coverage, exclusive coverage partners. And we'll just cover them all. We'll forget all the rest. We'll take care of you guys. We'll let you know everything you need to know. But is this
And to be clear, the reason we're exclusive is because no one else is bothering to do it, but it's fine.
So like this leaves questions for the Pac-12. This leaves questions for all the other. I mean, the Mountain West and some of these others. Now, you're starting to get into this realm of super conferences. How does this affect? I mean, obviously it affects the smaller sports as well, but mainly like, how does this change the way you have the SEC, you have the Big 12, and you have the Big 10? Then you have the kind of fringe conferences, the ACCs of the world. Like, how does
that's the only fringe conference at this point?
Yeah, it's the only fringe conference at this point. So what? I mean,
They're going to get picked apart. Here's what I think happens. How many teams are in the SEC right now?
A lot. We just picked up Oklahoma and Texas.
Well, I think that brings them to 16. So right now you have, in 2024, you will have 16 teams in the SEC, 16 in the Big 12, obviously, and 18 in the Big 10. So I think both the Big 12 and SEC should just get to 18 apiece. And if I'm choosing teams, SEC, it seems pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Well,
we get
there's three.
teams.
There's 3 schools though. That's the problem. Because you could go Florida State, Miami, and Clemson.
Yeah.
Then we'd also probably pick up like North Carolina, Duke, and NC State.
North Carolina, Duke go to the Big 12 because that's the premier basketball conference in the country.
Fair enough. So, yeah, and NC State would follow them.
Well, yeah, but that takes it to 19. You need only 18. These other guys are out.
We'll take NC State along with Florida State, Miami, Clemson.
Who is we? Are you in the SEC?
Yeah,
no, I said they both get 2 teams. You got to pick 2. Oh. I think Duke and North Carolina make a ton of sense for the Big 12, and I think Clemson and you could the Miami Florida State thing would probably be tough if you're only able to pick 2 on the SEC. Which one of those 2 you go with?
Well, then you got like the weird, Louisville's of the world. I mean, if you look at the basketball side of things, like how does that?
I mean, when does a conference become 30 teams and it's not a conference anymore?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like, where does this end? Because I just don't know.
I mean, even the NFL that's down to 2 conferences is still only 16 teams each, Chris. You get to play these teams every once in a while. The rivals in the Big 12 that haven't played in 4 years because there's 35 teams in the Big 12.
The last matchup between these 2 teams happened 3 years ago, and
at that point there's nobody on games,
and nobody on those teams is on that squad anymore, and it's like completely irrelevant matchup. Like it's just
legitimately though, Chris, we're close. If this continues to build, we're close to there's no longer non-conference games in football.
Yeah.
You can't.
There's
too many teams in your conference.
Yeah.
You're just exclusively playing in your conference.
But
no more non-conference games.
There'll be 2 non-conference games, and they would both be those FCS games.
Yeah, those like weird ass.
Pay them $3 million to allow them to get beat by 80.
Cornhusker Graham is playing Iowa State and Kansas.
Nebraska should have never left the Big 12. Every team that's left the Big 12, and we'll see with Oklahoma and Texas, but so far, obviously Colorado regretted it because they're already back.
Yep.
Nebraska has to regret it.
Yep.
There's no scenario. And Missouri regrets it too. Missouri's been pretty much dog shit in the SEC. They're getting eaten up. And people forget that they exist.
Yeah, it's between them and Vanderbilt for the bottom of the SEC every year.
Yeah.
SEC, I think will go after Florida State, Clemson, Miami, and North Carolina, says Hauser. Let's see, Dubabe. It's already happening in the ACC. The Aggies have not played Kentucky since they joined, which sucks because I live in 90 minutes. I live 90 minutes from Lexington. It's already a thing. It's already a thing.
Yeah. And to a debate point, the Vols have only played the Aggies like 3 times in their history.
It's going down a crazy path. And here's the thing, like it's
sick rivalries.
Sick.
Awesome rivalries.
It's gonna be sick. And like I get it though. Like there's no there's so much movement. There's no consistency. I just don't. It's moving too fast for everybody to understand what it's actually going to look like, and we still have dominoes that haven't fallen yet. So, this is just the beginning, Arizona, ASU, Utah again going to the Big 12. Big 10 is getting Washington and Oregon. I mean, Washington, Oregon. I mean, them going over is interesting as well, and how they make a splash in the Big 10 if they can shake things up a little bit. Because obviously the Big 10 has kind of been top heavy with a couple teams, so it's like, do the Washington and Oregon additions?
I think Oregon has a better
Oregon's
opportunity there, and obviously
probably-
USC has the opportunity there too.
Yeah. Yep.
To get.
Although I figured
the
I figured the Ducks are going to go back to the pack quack though.
I mean, that would make sense. Being a duck and getting in the pack whack. Pack whack.
Pack whack, patty whack, give your dog a bone.
Here's the one reason, I know it's money related, that Oregon and Washington should have stayed. They stay after USC and UCLA leave in that conference. Like, they're almost, at least one of them's guaranteed to be in the 12-team playoff every year. Because they're just going to beat up on some.
Well, there's nobody left,
teams.
so it's like, why wouldn't
exactly.
you? It
So
ends up.
if your goal is like making that college football playoff now, that's expanding to 12 teams, stay there, because
And then you become the
it's gonna be a
boy.
lot tougher getting into the Big Ten, and I don't know if this helps recruiting for them. I don't know. I think it helps. Big Ten teams more than it does like the ones that are moving in there now.
But then it's like, how many people take those teams seriously when you're beating up on the? I mean, we see this in basketball, college basketball with Gonzaga. We see it with. Remember the old Boise State teams that just kind of had these great records because they played just all these like garbage teams in their. It's like no one will take those. There's the weight of those teams is never going to be on the same level as the weight of the teams that are kind of in the mid range of some of these other massive conferences, because it's like these other teams are playing in these big conferences, the big time names, whereas the team that's hanging out in the sideline, the weight of their wins aren't going to be up to the caliber of what the committee wants.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's so convoluted right now, and it's so crazy to think that
no one knows what's going to happen here.
So,
I don't even think these conferences that are voting to bring these teams in know what they're doing at this point. They're like, the key is to get all the teams so we don't disband. Kind of like Meta Gibby's like, sorry, just joining in. I missed the earlier discussion. Do we really think ACC teams will go elsewhere? I feel like the basketball side of things will ensure the teams just stay. Just my opinion. I don't know, honestly. My only point is right now the college landscape in general, as far as conferences, is there's a clear top two now with SEC and Big 10.
Yep.
And then I think there's a clear 3 with Big 12.
Correct.
And then I think ACC's a clear 4. But like if it all of a sudden whittles down to 3, they're the next on the chopping block.
Oh yeah, they're gonna get absorbed
because outside of 6 of those teams, 7 of those teams, 8 of those teams, like the rest are kind of like, hate to say it, but like Oregon State, Washington State, Cal, Stanford, they're disposable.
Yeah, no, and again, it plays into like the big time basketball teams in the ACC and how that plays in, and then it's
so Medic. I was talking like that the Big 12 being hyping themselves as the premier basketball conference should try and pick up like Duke and North Carolina and head that route and just. Yeah. No, right now, Big 12 is definitely the top conference in basketball. ACC was for a while, but right now, Big 12's top.
Big 12's been, I mean, you have the Baylors that have been good recently. You have the Kansas Jayhawks who have been really good. I mean, the Big 12, I mean, even the TCUs have been kind of like, some of these other squads in basketball have been very, very competitive. The Kansas States have been competitive recently. I mean,
North Carolina's probably
Texas.
the last ACC team to win a natty. And how many years ago was that? So,
yeah, there's a lot of talent in the Big 12.
Well, you said Texas, but they will be leaving, Chris.
Well, yeah. Hey, Sirius, what's going on, man? How you doing? It's been a while. This is no disrespect. Why does it seem you hear differently if they are fans of what?
Of California teams as compared to other? I honestly don't even know what you mean by that.
I don't know.
I have no bias, but like
I'm even confused.
No, serious. We treat all fans the same if we, regardless. So we're not singling
like,
out.
are we? And this is like legitimately an honest question. Are we kinder to California fans or more cruel to California fans?
I don't know,
because I don't know which way you're even talking. Because I have no like dog in the fight of California fans.
We're a fan of sports fans, and then we're not fans of certain things. But you know what? That we don't like hold that against anybody, or we don't treat people better because of it. We just talk sports. That's all we do. We don't have bias. But serious.
I mean, everyone has bias, but like I don't think I have a bias towards California.
No. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. But serious. Welcome back. If you can clarify that, that'd be great. Let's see. How do basketball kids go to school with all this travel? That's another thing. Travel is a big factor in it as well. Is the Big 12 really better than ACC in football? Take a close look and tell me who in the Big 12 can seriously be considered for a title.
I could ask the same thing on the other end.
On ACC,
well,
Clemson's there. Obviously,
Yeah.
Clemson's the best of either conference, no doubt about it. I mean, TCU was just in a national championship. I know they lost by 100 in that game, but they were just in a national championship. No, I the whole time I've been saying, like Big 12 should like product themselves as the premier basketball conference. They have no shot at being like a premier, and obviously they're losing in all of this their best two football programs in Texas and Oklahoma. So it's not ideal by any stretch of the imagination, and you don't pick up the best teams from the Pac-12 either in football. You get, I mean, we'll see what CU can do with Dion, but Arizona State, and Utah has been pretty solid for a while now, but Arizona and Arizona State haven't been exactly elite on the football field or consistent in any manner. So that's fair. Like, it's not a great football conference, at least right now. Obviously, things can change. Leadership, a new coach and a new system at a program can change a lot, and things can change. But now, no. Big 12, as far as football goes, is probably behind the ACC. I mean, the ACC has like.
They're top heavy. They
Miami
don't have...
and Florida State haven't exactly been consistent either.
Yeah.
So they're literally like a one team conference right now as far as consistently being really, really good. Obviously, Miami and Florida State have the potential, and we've seen it to be good, but they haven't been recently. So, or not to the level that you expect those teams to be at.
It's going to be interesting, man. And here we talked about the recruiting aspect, about how recruiting changes and how that whole thing. I mean, it's so, there's so many layers to this. So we're going to follow it. We're going to keep you guys updated along the way with all the crazy things happening. So make sure you guys stay tuned in to all of the takes that we have here when it comes to this unfolding over the course of the next year, 2 years, what's going to end up happening. But STG, welcome in. Good to have you in. Bias towards that Russell Wilson trade. The problem is Broncos only 3 points per game away from having a great season last year. That's true.
Roger.
No, it's not. No, it's not. And I'll tell you why it's not. If you just look at how the games finish, sure. But like situations and the score matters. Like if they were winning instead of losing, don't you think the other team would be playing at the end of the game a little differently? Like you can't do that. Yeah, they had a lot of close games because their defense held the other team quite a bit and the offense sucked. So yeah, they had a lot of close games and they lost most of those. They won a couple close games. Like we had to all watch live and witness that awful Niners Broncos Sunday Night Football game, which is one of the worst games. The Broncos had literally their own fans leave during a Thursday night football game when the game was headed to overtime.
I mean,
the game was going to overtime and the fans were leaving because it was so damn bad to watch. And then, I mean, the Broncos did lose in overtime, but no, you can't. This whole idea of like, well, if they would have just scored 3 more points every game, they'd be a lot better. You can't do that. You can't. That's not how it works.
Well, you know what the great part of preseason here is? Every team feels like they got a chance, Scotty.
Yeah, well, and that's why You're very confident, just like all Broncos fans are this time of year. I can't wait till it just crumbles in your face again.
Well, we're
because
gonna
every
get.
report I've heard is it sounds like Russell still sucks. He's in better shape, but he's still bad.
I heard he's better than last year. I heard he's
in better shape.
That's a very low bar. That is a very low bar.
It is a very low bar. But we're going to get more into a lot of these discussions, especially we're going to break down divisions starting this Wednesday. We're going to be breaking down each and every single division, what we expect, who to look out for, who are the teams that might rise to the top that you might need to be aware of, who are the teams that might be falling off from what they're used to, maybe. There's a lot of divisions to go through. We are going to start those division previews up this Wednesday, so you guys make sure you hit that follow button so you don't miss out on that show. It's one of our favorite shows. And then eventually we're going to get to all of our picks when it comes to divisions. We're going to get to all of our win total picks. We're going to get to all of our contests and everything else as we get closer as well. So make sure you guys tune in. By the way, I want to get to Chairman. Shout out to Chairman. He's streaming baseball all the time. If you love baseball, go give Chairman a follow. He's always rocking games on his channel. But the Big Ten is going to add 2 more teams. They'll have 20 teams divided into 2 divisions. They call them Big Ten and Pac-10. They will play the conference championship between the 2 divisions in the Rose Bowl.
But is that really the Rose Bowl though? The Rose Bowl's ruined, in my opinion. I don't hate that idea. The Rose Bowl's ruined. It's no longer going to be a Big Ten, obviously Pac-12. Situation there. It's kind of ruined. And I don't know how you call one the Pac-10 because they only have 4 teams on the Pacific Coast at this point. They add 2 more.
No, what he was saying was the Big Ten is going to add 2 more teams.
I know.
In the Big Ten, there's going to be 2 divisions. One.
Yeah. No, I got
10 and
it.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't hate that idea, but then so you're just never playing the teams in the other division. So why not just be 2 separate conferences?
It was a joke, full circle. Hey, we take it to a whole nother level here,
To be honest, I didn't even hate the idea. It kind of, a lot of pieces of it make sense.
Yeah.